paralyzed by fear. I'm clutching you so tight, afraid to lose. I retreat more each night. Where is my voice? I've muted myself, and in my shyness, it's you I repel. I will find my way to express my voice. I must find my way to ignite my spark. Find my way to me, so we can be we. Find my way. The fractures between us rise into view. I cling to the scraps of the care that falls through. Where is my strength? I've crumbled apart, hiding from the truth. I've shattered my heart, but I will find my way to regain my strength. I must find my way to restore my will. Find a way to me, so we can be we. Find my way. Here is this moment to take a chance, to go on alone or grow and advance. I will find my way to express my voice. I must find my way to ignite my spark. Find my way to me, so we can be we. Find my way. I will find my way to regain my strength. I must find my way to restore my will. Find my way to me, so we can be we. Find my way. Find my way. I'll find my way. I'm finding my way to this episode this week. Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you had a very good week. We're still, playing around with this sound effect issue, so hopefully it's cleared out. Also, this week's episode is going to be a little different. The scheduled guest was unable to attend and hadn't got around to completing all the videos that they wanted to have in the episode, so I just pushed that episode out. A lot of other folks are just really busy right now, and so, but as an artist, you always have to have a backup. The show must go on. And I have a backup episode where interviews with a friend of mine, Ed Clare, about his work with Nova Noir Studios in Richmond, California, and Big Music Energy, which is his and Georgianne, his business partner's streaming advice channel. We're going to be bringing some advice from Ed. Ed has been on, I think for 3 years running, Ed has been on my Balanced Breakfast panel for the conference about music production. He's worked with Sony, a bunch of great artists. So we are going to listen to Ed's advice this week, and then I will show a music video of one of the artists he's worked with, and we'll follow the episode like that. Let's check in with Joe. Hello, Joe.
Good evening. Good
Hello
evening.
from
How are you?
Seattle.
Greetings from Berkeley.
I how's the weekend going?
Very good. It was a cool day riding by the bay and whatnot. Lots of motorcycle and bicycle time, and lots of calories burned and reconsumed at lunch with very good friends. And as the day winds down, I look outside the window, and the fog is starting to come in. It's just a right about a mixture of fog and light. That wonderful divide of sky, where February meets July, and it's only in the Bay Area where that can happen. Um, However, we are experiencing a heat wave that coming up
Mm.
soon. Tuesday and Wednesday, my other day off, it will be broiling hot, and I will be having a great time, but playing hopscotch with the shade, shall we say, under finding a protection from the sun, which I otherwise adore dearly. It's something. It's so strange. We love daylight. We love how bright and wonderful it is, and then we hide from it at the same time because we don't want to get burned up alive or too hot or sweltery. It's rather it's a paradox that I call spoiled Californians, as of which I am one, guilty as charged. Um, but that being said, the state is opening up here. June 15th, people are opening up. More masks are coming off, for better or for worse. More people are entering without restriction, entering public places, shops, theaters, restaurants, bars, what have you. Night clubbing is returned. And as a veteran nightclubber, I can tell you this is going to feel strange getting back because there's no normal anymore. Um, Normal has been erased. Normal is a slate that has been wiped clean. Normal must be reinvented. But the new normal cannot be as bad as the old normal. It must be better. It must be greater. Must be more secure. So we will see as we go forward. It's a brave new world 2.0.
I hear you. Things are definitely opening up here in Seattle. I got out on Wednesday. I got out on another bike ride and stopped by a brew pub, and then Thursday, got out into Fremont here in Seattle to watch a singer-songwriter be interviewed by Dan's Tunes. Dan does had to do a series of podcasts during COVID, but now is back to doing live events. So that was her kickoff for that. And Dan worked with me in consulting and marketing for a local band here, Martial Law Band. We've had Marshall on the show. And yeah, they're doing shows. And as I mentioned in an earlier episode, went and saw a concert with them, open air museum. And yeah, it's just like step by step, more connecting and socializing and getting out. We're doing baby steps here, but definitely feel like we're getting back to life.
Hopefully, it's less of a dog eat dog world and more of a social collaboration and knowing and realizing how everybody needs one another to move forward with this. With regard to networking, music, recording, performing live, I mean, rising tide raises all boats, and these are the boats that get raised, and they can rise together if they stick together.
My fingers and toes crossed on that. Well, I'm seeing a bit of both. Like some people have become more aware of collaboration over this last year and are sticking with that. I think some folks, maybe it didn't touch them as much, or for whatever reason, uh, I I will just call it a form of entitlement. You're just like, really? After all we went through this last year, that's how you're going to approach this. But they say change is very difficult unless the pain of staying the same is greater. So, well, let's jump right into the episode and get some advice. Speaking of pain and growth and development from Mr. Ed Clare. Ed Clare is the co-owner of Nova Noir Studios with George Ann, and George Ann was on an earlier episode. Check her out on my YouTube channel for her episode. We'll go in depth into her work, but we're going to kick it off with some of the advice that both of them provided through their COVID lockdown YouTube channel advice that went under the name Big Music Energy. And if you see Ed out there, you can call him Spooky Rock Star because he goes by that as well. So here's some advice about making music from Ed.
What's up, all? Today we're talking about the 2 things you need to get right in every single song. So I have been working in the music industry for about 15 years. It really doesn't seem like that long. And in those 15 years, I've probably worked with around 100 artists and corporations. And Georgianne Reto and I have had this place for about 2 years now. And in that time, I'd say we've worked on about 24 projects. That's not a bad 2 years. The point is, about 95% of the people that I've worked with have all gone away super happy with their music. That's not a bad track record. Now, I don't want to talk shit about the other 5% or anything that weren't happy or anything like that. In retrospect, it was probably not a good idea to set their guitars on fire just to get good social media footage. But after a couple black eyes and lawsuits, you live and learn. But let's get back to that 95% that were happy, shall we? Specifically that 24 projects that have worked with me, Georgianne, and Reto in this place. We're moving to a new studio, by the way. But we'll talk about that in a future video. Make sure to hit subscribe if you want to keep up with that. Meanwhile, back at the point, the theme with all of the happy ones, they say things like, this song is a bop. You guys made my song fire. This song knocks. This song slaps. You gave my song its final form. However they phrase it, they're saying we improved their song. Now, all 3 of us are producers, and we all have our different ways and methods of doing that. But there are 2 things that all 3 of us agree are the most important in a song. These 2 things are so important that if you get them strong enough, they can almost carry the entire song. Now, we're going to tell you the 2 things. We're going to tell you the bits to concentrate on for those 2 things. And then make sure to watch all the way through to the end, because we're going to give you an exercise using those 2 things to really up your songwriting game. Now, quick note, these things are nothing revolutionary or new. They are quite the opposite. But our goal is to let you know just how important they are. So if you're already concentrating on these things, bully for you. Keep it up, Rockstar. You're doing great. But still stick around to the end because the exercise is awesome. On the first thing. If your song has vocals, then they are the lifeblood of your song. Studies have shown that music with vocals has a higher propensity to keep people's attention. Even if vocals were not intended to be the focal point of the song, the ear will naturally zone into them. They will even zone into things that are even remotely vocal human-like. That's why for a while there, you had all these producers that were making melody lines out of chopped up vocal bits. That wasn't just a cool thing to do for that style. It was also a strategic way to keep people's attention while the artist wasn't singing. I've even known people who wouldn't even bother with a song if it was an instrumental. That's how important vocals are. Spend a lot of time getting your vocals just right, and the way to do that is to concentrate on your melody, your subject matter, and your performance. If you're concentrating on your melody, make sure it's one that really fits with your song, and make sure people want to sing along to it. A good hint that it's if you're really looking forward to singing the chorus, then a lot of people are going to be looking forward to singing it too. And then, of course, your performance has to be top-notch as well. And I don't mean a performance like The Voice performance or American Idol performance. You don't have to have all the acrobatic vocal chops. I mean performance regarding sincerity and emotional content. We need emotional content. Let me know down in the comments if you know that movie reference. And subject matter is basically your lyrics. Georgianne has some great tips on writing lyrics in our songwriting video, so check that out after you're done with this video, of course. On to super important song thing 2. Should I do like Georgianne and like second tip? How does she do it? Or drums. Reto and I both started out as drummers. Reto likes to say the best producers start out as drummers. If lyrics are the lifeblood of your song, then drums are the heartbeat. I actually didn't plan for the heartbeat lifeblood things to actually work together like they do, but kind of worked out. But let's roll with the lifeblood heartbeat analogy for a second. If the track has a healthy heartbeat, then it's a healthy song. If the track has an unhealthy heartbeat, then it's an unhealthy song. And when I say strong, I don't necessarily mean big. Strong drums can be big and bombastic like in a rock song, or they can be intimate and quirky. They could be programmed, they could be acoustic, they could be a hybrid of both acoustic and programmed. Graveyard by Halsey has a super strong drum track, and it's really just a kick, snare, and some claps. The way to get a super strong drum beat is to concentrate on the rhythm, which in this context is the part that goes throughout most of a section or a song, the structure, where I'm referring to breakdowns and fills, and the sound of the drums themselves. With acoustic drums, that's how they were recorded, how they were processed, and then with programmed drums, then I mean the sounds that you picked and how they were processed. Drums are so important that they are one of the first things that you can change to completely alter the style of the song. And if you look at the artists out there who've lasted decades in their career as opposed to just 3 or 4 years or one-hit wonders, even though they have styles that are uniquely their own, the way they write and process their drums changes over the decades of their career. These decade-long juggernauts of artists, they know that drums have to go with the times. And this goes the other way around too. If you're trying to create a retro style, then you need to make sure those drums sound like that era. That's how important drums and the sound of those drums are to a style of a song. You can create iconic moments with drums. In the 80s, there was this song called In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. But freaking a million years later, you play that song and there's still a whole bunch of people listening who will start air drumming to it.
This is my favorite part coming up right now. I can feel it coming in the air tonight.
If your song has drums and or percussion, of course, then make sure those are on point and your song will be super hard to resist. Final note, it doesn't matter as much as you think whether you do or don't play drums. It helps. But sometimes getting the perfect drum track is really a matter of spending the time to find the perfect loop or loops. Drums and vocals, guys. These things are what me, Georgianne, and Reto agree are the most important in a song. And I don't think it's a coincidence that these two things resonate with people across all styles, across all ages. Even a baby, if they're walking, hears a great drum rhythm and they start instinctively dancing. People hear an awesome melody being sung and it stirs emotions. And that brings us to our exercise. We want you to write a song using only vocals, drums, and one instrument to carry the melody if needs be. If you feel while writing this song that the song needs more, do that by altering the drums or the vocals only. If you can get your song 90% of the way done just by tweaking the drums and the vocals, we really think you're gonna have a banger on your hands. Any instruments you add after that are just gonna make the song jump out of the speakers. As a matter of fact, if you do this and you feel like sharing, we want to hear it. As of this video, we're still a new channel, so I don't know how many submissions we'll get. But if you want to share it with us and we get enough, we'll react to our favorites in a future video. Make sure to contact us via social media or through our website to submit. And that is it, guys. We look forward to your submissions. We're already started the process of moving out of this studio into the new one, so I don't know how many videos more we'll have with this background. Probably some of them will be posting from home while the new studio gets set up. You know, the thing I'm gonna miss the most is that little bit you see right here. That's a window out into the live room. That's super fun. Thank you so much to all of you who made it to the end. We really appreciate you. We hope this helped. If you got any value out of this, please give us a like, give us a subscribe. As always, if you want us to elaborate on anything or if you have any questions, let us know down in the comments. Remember, we post with new content every Friday, so until then, go write the next big hit.
That was, hey, that's my shades there, and here's me in the studio, and here's even better. Here's me lit in the studio. So that was Ed Clare of Noir Productions, Nova Noir. Let's get this right. Nova Noir Productions and Big Music Energy, giving some really great advice there. I know after watching this video, I'm going to go away and try this. I've never actually tried to do the drums, the melody, and the vocals as 90% of the song before I added anything else. I love that idea. And there's certainly tons of songs out there that I love that the drums were a key moment in it. The example he gave there of Phil Collins with when the Lynn drum came out in the early 80s, you might recognize that drum not only from Phil Collins' solo album, Peter Gabriel's solo album, the one with Shock the Monkey, technically called number 4. Yeah, a bunch of bands, Human League, used that particular drum, so that drum's iconic for its time. And if you're making a drum part, make sure that it matches what you're trying to convey. Apparently, I'm trying to convey 80s retro all the time, no matter what drum part I put in my songs. But let's watch a song and a music video by one of the artists that Ed produced.
I want to wake up, I want to feel good. I'm tired of just hanging out. If I only could, I want to break through. I want to rise. Aren't you tired of still being here? But we've got to decide. If it's a beautiful day, then what do you say? Are you going my way? It's always been you I believed in. I've got nothing to hide. Love of mine, what do you say? You are my best when I'm at my worst. Hey, I know I made some mistakes, but you made them first. I know it hurts, but you have the nerve. We can change it all right now. Just say the word. If it's a beautiful day, then what do you say? Are you going my way? It's always been you I believed in. I've got nothing to hide. Love of mine, what do you say? I just can't do it without you, babe. What do you say? I'm better only without you, babe. It's a beautiful day. Then what do you say? Are you going my way? It's always been you I believed in. I got nothing to hide. Love of mine. If it's a beautiful day, then what do you say? Are you going my way? It's always been you I believed in. I've got nothing to hide. Love of mine, what do you say? What do you say? What do you
This week's Humble Rumble, we'll be talking about your voice. As Ed said in the early part of the episode, voice is key to a great song. So we're going to hear from his business partner, George Ann, a bit about how to improve your vocals.
Feel free to be a diva on Diva Day. See, I did it. Like, I call it Diva Day. Hi, I'm Georgianne Ireland, and today I'm going to be giving you 5 tips that you can use to have the most successful vocal day. Intro. I'm Georgianne, full-time vocal and music producer here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Let's jump right into it. Before you ever set foot in a studio to record your vocals, I need you to do your homework. What do I mean by homework? For every single song that you are going to record, I need you to identify all the emotions that exist within that song and create what I call an emotion wheel. Literally, an emotion wheel. I made this back on the first song that I ever recorded. So that's kind of fun that I still have that. But what it is if you think about emotions as a spectrum and all the emotions of a song fit over here, I want you to identify what all those emotions are. Now for the next week, what I want you to do is day by day, pick one of those emotions and drill that emotion when you practice the song. What do I mean by drill an emotion? If the emotion is, I'm so happy. This is so much fun. Then what I want you to do is when you sing the song, I need you to feel that when you sing the song. And then the next day, if the emotion is, well, hey there, baby. Drill that emotion when you sing the song. And so for each emotion that you identify and write down day by day, practice just one emotion each day until you're done. And then after you've done all that, I want you to let go. And then I want you to identify an emotion that absolutely does not exist in the song. So if it's a song about a happy marriage, then I want you to go, this is falling apart. My world is falling apart. I just don't know anymore. I need that emotion from you. It doesn't exist in the song, but I want you to feel that when you practice. Because if you think about it again as a spectrum of emotions, and they all exist right in here, if this is the truest, most pure form of the song, and you're hitting like over here, it's not bad. You're doing a pretty good job. But if I look in the wrong place, sometimes this one starts to become a little bit more clear to me. And then I can really find the most authentic, vulnerable, and honest, most pure form of the song. Because it's not the words you say that give them their meaning, it's how you say them. Now, the whole reason I want you to do all of your homework before coming into the studio is because, and getting to my next point, I don't want you to try to be good on vocal day. If you try to be good, it will sound contrived. It will sound like you are trying to be good and not just singing. You did your homework. Trust yourself. Let go, and that's how you are going to get the most sincere, most vulnerable take. You're going to be seeing a theme here, which is sincerity, honesty, vulnerability. Why? Because people value authenticity and honesty. My third tip on vocal day: be comfortable. There is a reason that I call vocal day Diva Day. Feel free to be a diva on Diva Day. See, I did it. Like, I call it Diva Day. Feel free to be a diva on vocal day. Vocal day, nothing should be bothering you as a singer. You need to be in touch with yourself. Be connected to yourself. Be connected to the song. Don't be afraid to let the engineer know if you need something. If you need your vocals up, vocals down, music up, music down, ask for it. If you need water, ask for it. You don't need to be distracted by, gosh, this vocal booth is really hot and I wore a sweater and I don't think I can roll up these sleeves any higher. You don't need to be distracted by that kind of stuff. You don't need to have your feet hurting because you wore the wrong shoes today. Be comfortable. Wear comfortable clothing. All that said, the one thing that I will recognize is that for some people, clothing is costuming. And if that's you, go ahead. Wear that leather jacket. If you need to curl your hair, go full on 80s hairband rocker, do it. I would love that. Please come work with me. I love 80s music. I love hairband metal. So Steve Perry, if you're out there, please come. My fourth point, I need you to break the trance. Now, what is the trance? The trance happens when you have sung a song over and over again. It starts to sound tired. It sounds like you've sung it countless times because you have, and that's okay. But at this point, it starts to sound insincere, and we want to avoid that. To be honest, it's a pretty easy fix, so don't even worry about it. Some things you can do, and I literally ask people to do this: jump up and down for a bit, take off your headphones, do whatever you need. Just feel different. If you're singing the song and you've been emphasizing one word, try to emphasize a different word within that phrase. It's just gonna get your brain working differently, and it's gonna get you out of that repetitive nature. Move differently when you sing. If I keep reaching at one part, maybe I'll reach with the other hand. It's something to get your brain working differently and to get you off autopilot. And if you do that, your songs are gonna start sounding more sincere. On to our fifth and final tip. I need you to go back to the origins of the song. When you go back to the origins of the song, you are the most connected with yourself and the most connected with the purity and the reason why you wrote that song. I love to keep vocal memos on my phone because I love hearing literally just scratching, mumbling, and all of a sudden you have like the melody or you have the hook and you're like, oh my God, that's where that song came from. And it's a really touching thing. And so on vocal day, you need that honesty, that emotion that originally made your heart ache or sing. It needs to resonate on vocal day, even though you've had that song maybe for years. Make it resonate with other people. Remember why you wrote that song and why it was important. And if you do that, I promise that sincerity, that vulnerability, that honesty will come through. And that's what's gonna resonate with people. If you do all those 5 things, do your homework. Don't try to be good. I need my list. Remember that Diva Day is vocal day. Break the trance if you fall into it. And if you go back to the origins of why you wrote the song, you will kill it on vocal day. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I love talking about performance techniques and I could talk about this all day. So please, I'm happy to answer any questions. If you found any of this interesting, fun, if you like me, please give us a like, subscribe. I'll be putting out more content. Thank you so much, guys.
That was Georgianne Ireland presenting some great vocal tips before you go into the studio to be prepared. If you'd like to hear even more from Georgianne and Ed, do look on YouTube for Big Music Energy. Last year they did a ton of videos. Fantastic. You can see from these 2 interview clips, it's gold. It's gold, folks. So look up Big Music Energy. And if you're looking to record and get produced, do reach out to Nova Noir Studios. Ed Clare on Facebook. I think he's in Edmund Clare. Yeah, Edmund Clare on Facebook. You know, reach out to him or Georgianne Ireland and sync up as things are opening back up. I'm sure they're going to get back to producing people live and, you know, hopefully taking their next studio to the next level. I do want to show you a video of not only a female singer that they produced, but a male singer. And this was shot downstairs at the original Nova Noir Studios before it had to be shut down due to COVID. And to give you an idea of what that all looked like. All right, here's artist number 2.
Break it down and evaluate. I think it's time that we celebrate who we are, yeah, who we are. Let's take a step as we elevate. We will relax and meditate on who we are. Yeah, who we are. I wanna get up close and personal. I wanna get deep down in your soul. I want you to know. We're not here to be tough. To be loved, If you ever feel alone and life has got you down, you're just fighting the tide. It's just a matter of time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're just fighting the tide. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's take a breath, oh don't hesitate. Open your eyes and stand up straight. It's who we are. It's who we are. I wanna see that smile on your face. I want you to find that place. Here we are. Here we are. We're not here to be tough. We are here to be loved. If you ever feel alone and life has got you down, you're just fighting the tide. It's just a matter of time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're just fighting the tide. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just a matter of time.
That was Kush Saxena. Nice, real cool set of blending of Western Indian instruments in there. And the artist that we watched earlier was Floyd. And it's great to hear their advice and then hear these artists actually demonstrate their advice that's presented on Big Music Energy. And Joe, what do you think so far?
I love the concrete steps with which they take creating a song, how the backbone and structure of how to make a song good. It's very creative and very bare bones at the same time. It takes away the mystery and whatnot. It's such a direct approach, working with the drums and the vocals as an example, and making that work, and anything else is just icing on the cake. And if the drums and vocals don't work, then you got to start over. And only when they work, then everything else can be added on. And in the case of Georgianne's, her speech regarding vocals, I was somehow reminded of Joe Cocker. I mean, now don't try to be good. What resonates to me, because you have, for example, you think back in the late 60s, the Beatles, I Get By With a Little Help From My Friends, which is very great, but it can sound pedestrian after a short while. Joe Cocker takes that same song and with his raw vocal talent, not trying to be polished, mind you, and just puts a new spin on it and gives it a whole new dimension. And it's the stuff of legend. Joe Cocker's version of With a Little Help From My Friends. And it sounded like he took Georgianne's advice, so to speak.
Yeah, I've been pretty harsh on my vocals over the years. And I was shocked to find out, it took some waking up, if you sing with feeling, it's more important than to sing on pitch. And then, in fact, it was more important to sing on rhythm than to sing on pitch. If you got the rhythm right, people will forgive pitch. In a live performance, obviously on a recording, that's trickier because people are listening to over and over again. And that blew me away because I had been a choral singer for so long. It was all about hitting the note. And I, along the way, had forgotten to feel the note, to feel the song. And I was so focused on trying to hit the notes and making sure I hit the notes that I wasn't really emoting the lyrics.
You have a metaphor, and this, not to be cornball with this, A metaphor is with martial arts. You have people that are obsessed with perfecting the technique, which is fine and well. You'll never perfect the technique, however. You'll get it to a point of excellence, but you'll never get it perfect. Everyone's going to look a little bit different in their technique. They will all look excellent, but no one will look perfect. And where you excel at this technique after so much excellence is with the feeling of intent behind the technique, the spirit of the technique. Miyamoto Musashi had a technique in a sword fighting known as fire and stones cut. And that technique was more of a matter of attitude than the physical technique, the physical skill. It's the feeling behind the moves, the feeling behind the strike, the block and whatnot. The same thing with that vocal punch, so to speak. You don't want to hit the nerves just right. I mean, the notes just right. You want to hit them hard and with feeling and with gusto and with spirit, much like a good series of moves and strikes in martial arts. With vocals, you want to be powerful. Bruce Springsteen is no Pavarotti, but he doesn't have to be. He makes it his own. And I think this is what Georgiana was talking about.
Very cool. And as a singer, I'm sitting here, I kind of cringe. It's like, yeah, okay. It's so simple, it's so direct, and yet it touches your emotions intensely. So I love their advice. Like you said, strips away the mystery, and they give me something I can tangibly chew on and get away from my own emotions and my own reaction to hearing the advice. And then I can say, okay, I've got some homework to do. What am I going to do? Oh, it's this. And then you can mechanically work on it. I really like that about the Big Music Energy presentations. Very practical. Well, we are going to give this week's Mystic Moment back to Ed, and he is going to talk about your comfort zone.
5 years on 12 songs. This isn't the 80s anymore. That doesn't fly. That is the worst case scenario for perfection right there. In this episode, we're talking about the 3 things artists do to push themselves out of their comfort zones in order to grow. I always want to keep it 100% real with you guys. I'm not a big time producer. If Jack Antonoff or Mark Ronson were like the Lamborghinis, then I would be kind of a consumer Mercedes, or maybe even a used Lexus. But I am full time, and that's been my lifelong dream. And in my first year with the brick and mortar production house, I was just a few contracts away from making 6 figures. Gross, not net, remember, keeping it real. Now 6 figures in the San Francisco Bay Area means that instant ramen is never necessarily off of the menu. But the point is, even with where I am now, I've gotten to work with people who've sold millions of records and or copies and or streams. I've also worked with people who are mainstays in music for film and TV. And the one thing I've noticed in common with all of those people is that they're constantly trying to push themselves out of their comfort zone. Here's a list of 3 things they do to push themselves to keep themselves out of the comfort zone. Now these things are all kind of linked, so make sure to watch the whole thing, or maybe one thing won't make any sense with the others. Because here's the thing, you can never grow if you never leave your comfort zone. You've heard the 10,000 hour phrase, right? There's a saying that if you put 10,000 hours towards something, you become a badass at it. There's even a semi-current pop song about it, I think. But I think that's more geared towards love or whatever. You need to get started on those 10,000 hours. Maybe you've already put in like 500. But here's the trick. When you're working on those 10,000 hours, make sure you're spending as much time on the admin as you are on the fun stuff. It's easy to focus on things like writing, recording, and playing live. Those are fun, but you need to spend a lot of those 10,000 hours in marketing, admin, and planning as well. I get a lot of people in the studio who are working their asses off, but they're only working on the fun stuff. And that's going to result in a catastrophic failure if you're trying to do this as anything more than a hobby. Now, failure is what brings us to the next tip. So you're working on your 10,000 hours, and as long as you're focusing on both the admin and the fun stuff, the next step is to not be afraid of failing when putting those hours in. Catastrophic failure is one of those things where no matter how hard you're trying, it all comes crashing down. But most of the time, failure is just an opportunity to learn. It's super cheesy, but there's a phrase, you win some, you learn some. Now, super successful people, I've noticed, are awesome at failing because they learn from each failure to become better. They don't freak out and immediately change course if they fail. If they release a song and nobody likes it, they don't give up and take up knitting. No shade on people who knit, mind you, of course. It's just that successful people don't discourage that easily. Successful people don't give up easily. They learn what they can from failure and do it again. Now, I get it. By avoiding the risk of failure, you avoid the heartbreak, you avoid the rejection. I think we've all been there as artists. But you've got to leave that comfort zone. Now, it's easier to have these small, non-catastrophic failures when you leave your comfort zone. But again, without leaving your comfort zone, you'll never grow. So while you're racking up those 10,000 hours, don't be afraid to fail and learn what you can from those failures. If you do that, I promise you those little failures will happen less and less frequently because you're becoming that badass we talked about. So get out there and fail. Now, this next one hurts my heart a little bit. We talked about being not afraid to fail, but what happens when you try too hard? You get perfectionism. A few years back, we produced some artists that were signed to a major label, and they had enough juice as rock stars so that they had a little bit of freedom as far as schedule goes when finishing the album. But they were serious perfectionists. No exaggeration, I had to leave the project after the album was going on 3 years after signing and it still wasn't done. And I was working on the album 2 years before they got signed. 5 years on 12 songs. This isn't the fucking 80s anymore. That shit doesn't fly. That is the worst case scenario for perfection right there. Now that deal opened up a lot of doors for me, but to my knowledge, that album is still not done and I'm pretty sure the label dropped them. Perfection is the enemy of done. And let's face it, perfection is kind of the manifestation of fear. Perfection is the creator trying their best to put their best foot forward. Now, I get wanting to put your best foot forward. Do your best for sure. But perfection is moving away from doing your best into a territory that's more like obsession and overthinking. Not to mention, perfection is a time suck. These days, if you're taking more than 2 or 3 months between original content releases, you'll lose current fans and bore the shit out of potential ones. And believe me, even if you didn't care and spent a year making one song, there's always someone out there who's still gonna think it sucks. So fuck perfection. Release consistently according to current market standards. If you're not feeling 100% on your last release, do better on the next one. This ties in again to leaving your comfort zone. In film, they say a project is never finished, it escapes. So let that shit escape. To avoid perfectionism, give yourself some deadlines and make the music the best it can be within those deadlines. That's not to say deadlines are never missed, but this is a goal to shoot for. Don't be like the artist who shall remain unnamed. Alright, these tips for kicking comfort zones to the curb should do wonders on your productivity. I still sometimes struggle with implementing some of what we talked about because we're human, but by keeping an eye towards these things as goals, it's made a huge difference in my workflow. And if you want to see the step-by-step workflow that we use in the studio when things aren't the way they are right now, click on the video that comes up. Thanks and much love to all of you who made it to the end. Please give a subscribe if you got any kind of value from this. We're a new channel and it really, really helps. We post every Friday, and until then, go write the next big hit.
Great advice from Ed Clare there. You know, it's tough. It's tough to let yourself fail a bit. It's tough to ship something when you're like, you know, it can be better. At the same time, he's right on the nose. If you take 10 years to make that great pop song, the drums on the recording are going to be out of date, right? Listen to what he said earlier about the sounds, right? The sound has to be of the era released. So there's a clock ticking on every creative project, whether it's a song, whether it's a painting, etc. If you're making some classic composition that you think is going to be the bomb, even Beethoven was of his time. So, you know, I'm just saying. So if you've got something, work on it. Find the right person, collaborate with it to get it out, and get it out. And as I always say on the show, you can always produce version 2.0. Well, here is another artist that Ed and Georgianne worked with, and this video is by Mariah Lie to Me.
tights, skin tight. Not right, but you ran the table. Gave my green light. My type, cause your touch is fatal. You got brand new eyes. They see through mine. Let's say they don't. Lay me down, lie to me now. Lie with me and fake it. Give me your word, talk like it hurts. Talk but you can't take it. Hate me, love me, I won't believe a word. Lay me down, lie to me now. Lie with me and lie to me. Think I'm love blind. Not quite, but the truth is costly. You're my new stripes, not alone at night, cause I'm in this for me. You've got brand new eyes, they see through mine. Let's say they don't. Lay me down, lie to me now. Lie with me and fake it. Give me your word, talk like it hurts. Talk but you can't take it. Hate me, love me, I won't believe a word. Lay me down, lie to me now. Lie with me and lie to me. Lay you down, lay you down, lay you down and lie. Hold you now, my rebound. Give you what you like. Lay you down to keep you around. No, I lay you down cause I can't feel lonely now. Understanding how you can lay me down tonight. Lay you down, lie to you now. Lie with me, I'll fake it. Give me my word, talk like it hurts. Talk but I can't take it. Hate me, love me, no I don't need your word. Lay me down, lie to me now. Lie with me and lie to me. Lay me down, lie to me now. Lie with me and fake it. Give me your word, talk like it hurts. Talk but you can't take it. Hate me, love me, I won't believe a word. Lay me down, lie to me now. Lie with me and lie to me.
Welcome to the after party. Here we're going to dig a little deeper with Ed and his general philosophy of music production. So, Joe, that was 3 different artists and a couple pieces of advice from Ed, and even throw Georgianne in there. In the after party, I just kind of wanted to get your sense of these productions and what you're thinking about them.
I'm seeing the lessons that are taught here as to how to make good music, how to make good production habits and guidelines, and I'm seeing implemented in the videos here, and as great examples. It's almost like it's the easiest form of homework, and at the same time the hardest, because the easy part is observing the lessons as they play out in examples. The hard part will be, of course, following the examples.
Oh,
And,
geez. I'm working vocals on a song, and yeah, it's there's all sorts of resistance. It's like you mentioned martial arts, going in and working, or when I'm about to do some yoga, in my mind I'm like, I'm too busy to do yoga. I've got emails, I got customers, and da 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 da. All that stuff comes up when I go, I'm going to work on my vocals. It should be easy. I got the software. It's recorded. I got a studio. Why is this hard? But you get all this resistance bubbles up.
Maybe it's hard because we have to work on our vocals, and we don't really have to work on our vocals.
What do you mean by that? I'm not following.
Well, just to not be perfect.
Oh,
Imperfection is perfection.
Okay. Good point. Good point. I do tend to be a perfectionist, and I did tend to put a lot of, yeah.
Well, here's an example. David Bowie's It's No Game, track 1 from Scary Monsters.
Great example.
Okay. And it's David Bowie. How can he fail? I mean, if anything, his vocals are great and wonderful, but they've been great and wonderful for so long. It's almost like, who cares? Let's see him be raw and merciless. And he breaks his voice on purpose. And then the very last track of Scary Monsters is a requiem for It's No Game, and he croons it like Frank Sinatra.
It is very remarkable. You've got to have some real cojones to do that on an album. You're thinking, oh, the first song, I got to make it pretty, and it's got to be the pop song to get everybody into my album. And he on Scary Monsters and Super Creeps does the exact opposite. Like Joe was saying, at the end, he's singing the same song as he sang as the first song on the album, and he shows this beautiful singing voice. But if you hadn't heard David before, and you heard that first track, you'd be like, who the heck is this guy? He can't sing. What's going on here?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a fascinating, that whole album is a fascinating, well, all of his albums, but that particular album, fascinating study in working with voice from end to end. Because he goes from the crooning to almost like a Who kind of country rock to science fiction-y to like layers of raw vocals. It's quite a tour de force.
Yes, see, exactly. And I guarantee you will. And here's the thing, David Bowie can do that because he, of all the work produced before, and then we hear It's No Game, and think, oh, he's branching out into something new. But for a first-time artist to do that, to pull a song like It's No Game, takes a lot of cojones, yes, because that could be a style in and of itself. I mean, Johnny Rotten, John, aka
That's a
Johnny
good
Lydon.
point.
See,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like he wasn't trying to emulate Tony Bennett, for example.
They actually sent him to vocal lessons. Yeah. Johnny Lydon, Mr. A.K. Johnny Rotten, lead singer of Sex Pistols, they sent him to a vocal coach before they did the album to try to perfect his singing more. And the vocal coach said, he's terrible. But hey, they went on, producer, Malcolm McLaren. Malcolm McLaren sent him to that. Malcolm McLaren was the man behind the Sex Pistols, and Malcolm McLaren went to the bank and made millions of dollars off of a band who couldn't sing or play. But darn, you felt it, like you said. And I wonder, since Scary Monsters was 1980 and punk was 1976, that maybe that's kind of what David was tapping into there with that track.
I think so. I think Scary Monsters was David Bowie's foray into new wave.
Yeah, I guess you had that kind of punky first track. You had Ashes to Ashes, which was a big hit, which was very synthy, new wavy.
Yes.
But he wanted to let you know on that album he was still David, so he gave you the crooning track, and I'm thinking about Teenage Wildlife, which to me strikes me almost more like a Pete Townsend kind of track. But it's like 9 minutes long, but you don't notice it.
Absolutely.
Which is a fascinating effect, because usually you can tell when a song is long. And yeah. Well, let's get some more advice from Mr. Ed Clare here. And since this is the after party, we're going to roll up the sleeves, and he's going to sort of take off the soft approach and talk very directly and give you some advice. Here is Ed Clare.
So the internet can suck sometimes, especially right now, everybody arguing back and forth. Even before the shit show that is 2020, I'd made a vow never to argue online with people. And for the most part, I've stuck to that. For the most part. Then recently I saw a post that pissed me off so much that I had to break my rule. Because of that post, the other night I was arguing online for like 3 hours past my bedtime. The reason that post pissed me off so much is that it was damaging AF to people like you, the struggling artist, the aspiring musician. It was damaging and discouraging to anyone trying to make it in the modern music industry. I mean, here we are trying to help you as much as we can, and then posts like this just go and f*** it all up. You know what it's like? It's like when you're making a sandcastle and a bully comes in and kicks that down. But you know what? Listen to me. Right here, right now, you and I are going to stand up to that bully together. We are drawing our line in the sand. We're going to stand up to them with their perfect hair and their perfect girlfriend who had a crush on once. You know what? She didn't ask you to do her English homework every night for 3 months.
We had a history, Brad.
Let's talk about this post, and let's make a pact about how you're going to ignore it and every post like it so that you can go on unburdened by hyperbolic, outdated rants, and I can go back to being my usual non-internet arguey, super chill self. Fucking Brad. All right, a little bit of housekeeping here at Big Music Energy. We're trying to be the people we needed when we first started out in the music industry. We are full-time pros. You're an aspiring artist. We can help. If you're down with that, hit subscribe, turn on the notifications. You're going to have to forgive me because there's a little bit of kind of air conditioner type noise in the background. It's actually the air purifier. I live in California and it's on fire. You know, a couple of episodes ago when I said that the world is on fire, I didn't mean it literally, but here we are. 2020, man, I swear. So here's the post. I'm not going to read it all, but the gist of it is some very successful dude in the industry says that the industry sucks now and artists these days have no talent anymore. You know that thing that people say when they find themselves growing obsolete and they don't want to make the effort to adapt? Yeah, that's what he's saying. And then he goes on to lament about Spotify and the music industry and how Spotify doesn't pay its artists enough. Which, you know what? That part's totally true. And while that's true, here's the thing. You guys need to get your head wrapped around the idea that music nowadays is basically free and that it should be used as a marketing tool for other means of monetization, not a means of monetization in and of itself. Making music has always been art, but putting it out to people and monetizing it, that's always been marketing and business. Seriously, unless your whole life is touring and you're selling physical product at your shows, get used to the idea that music sales are no longer a thing. Now, disclaimer, that is oversimplified, but still on point. Now, let's talk about this dude real quick. He played guitar on a ton of hits. Respect where respect is due. Absolutely. He's got a crazy ass career. But here's the thing. Being successful in the music industry doesn't automatically validate what he's saying. You can absolutely be successful and full of bad info. For those of you old enough, do you guys remember when Prince declared the internet over back in like 2010? That statement alone is proof that no matter how much time you've had in the industry, no matter how many hit songs you have, you are not immune to obsolescence. And Prince used to be one of my super influences as a kid. When he said that, that kind of broke my heart. That actually would be a great question too. Have you ever had someone successful or someone you looked up to give you outdated bad advice? Hopefully it wasn't us. So let's talk about dinosaurs for a second. It's relevant. Bear with me. Let me tell you a quick little story about Phil Tippett. Phil Tippett was a stop motion animator in the 80s, and he was really good at it. Star Wars, RoboCop. In the 80s, he was on top of the world. Now, he was originally slated to do stop motion animation for the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. But then these computer savvy guys swooped in, made a CGI demo. Because this was right around the time when computers were getting more and more powerful and CGI was looking better and better. Not all of it, but a lot of it. So they swooped in, showed Steven Spielberg a CGI demo of animated dinosaurs, and they straight up bumped Phil Tippett from the job. When Steven Spielberg told Phil Tippett, Tippett famously said, "I've just gone extinct." And Steven Spielberg loved that line so much that he actually put it in the movie. But here's the thing, Phil Tippett actually evolved because he was able to recognize that some of his skill set had gotten obsolete. And because he was able to adapt, he was actually kept on to supervise all the movements of the CGI animated dinosaurs. He still had all of his skills on how to visualize and execute making monsters move realistically. And seriously, that movie still looks good to this day. Tippett went on to have a long and happy career. Now, how much you want to bet at that time there were other career stop motion animators out there who didn't adapt when CGI came along? Fast forward to now, when CGI is like everywhere, do I even need to tell you what happened to those guys who refused to adapt? They went extinct. Now that I've told you that story, look at this guy again. Now, with his career, he has no chance of ever being like homeless or broke. He's implied that he had mail money and royalties from some of the mega hits that he played on. And I've seen the checks of some mega hit mail money. Not mine. Like, I have colleagues who have mega hits and they have mail money and they let it slip how much they made. I could live off of it. So even though this guy is not in any kind of danger of ever going homeless, you're looking at somebody who's refusing to adapt, who's pissed off about it, and is about to go extinct. He's a dinosaur. That's all I can see when I read this rant. Now, regardless of your age, regardless of your style, are you the type to adapt? Because I'm telling you right now, a successful music career requires adaptation. Definitely if you're like a pop session player like Mr. Grumpy, or a pop producer like me who has to keep really on top of all the trends. And especially if ways to monetize and promote your music are constantly changing, adaptation is non-negotiable. Now, as an artist, that may or may not be true depending on your market. As long as your marketing and your promotion is on point, you can just be you. But no matter who you are in any industry, if you don't know how to adapt when it comes to monetizing and promoting your skill set, you're going to go extinct. Just ask all the people who built up their fan base on MySpace. They know that social media platforms can go out of vogue seemingly overnight. Now, TikTok is one of the current badass ways to go for promoting your music. Are you resisting adaptation? Are you resisting hopping on that new medium? If you have built up your fan base on TikTok, if it goes belly up like Vine, will you be ready to move on to the next big thing? Now, YouTube has been around for a while and it's still a great way to build up your following. But if it goes belly up, are you ready to adapt? As the ways to monetize and promote your music change around you, are you going to ride those waves and surf, or are you going to sink to the bottom? I know I'm really driving this point home right now, but this channel doesn't make us any money. We genuinely do it because we genuinely want to help. So believe me when I say that I really hope right now you're telling yourself you're going to keep an open mind and that you're going to adapt when the world changes around you. Or will you turn out to be just an angry, soon to be extinct dinosaur? Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. We really, really appreciate it. If you want to talk about current trends in whatever style you're making, consider joining our private Facebook group. It's a small community right now, but it's built up of people who really believe that there's enough room for everyone in the artist community to succeed. Thus, we help each other. Do you want more tips to keep you successful in the music industry? Check out this video right here. And YouTube has a suggestion from our channel for you right here. So remember, keep an open mind, stay adaptable, take care of yourselves and each other, and go write the next big hit.
More great advice from Ed Clare of Nova Noir Studios and Big Music Energy. And hey, I see in the chat, Georgianne's here. Give a big shout out to Georgianne. We saw her clip earlier about vocal tips. And reach out to Ed and Georgianne if you're looking to do a project. And I imagine things are starting to open up a little out there. With COVID being tapped down, folks are getting probably less afraid of a microphone and public spaces. So looking forward to seeing more stuff come out from them. If you liked today's episode and the content, do look up Big Music Energy on YouTube and follow them. And now it's time to wrap up and do the last call with Joe Price.
This was something that was tapped into earlier in tonight's episode. Get out of your comfort zone. A little risk can mean a great opportunity to be creative or meet your creative, productive tribe. A little initial work toward that which you love can start the motivational momentum for more projects and labors of love. Dare yourself to reduce the television and social media, put down the mouse and pick up the paintbrush, pen, or even a TIG welder if that's your thing. Less consuming and more producing can show you what you've been missing, and those around you can be similarly inspired, spreading the culture to create, to produce.
And that was the last call, Joe Price. Thank you so much, Joe, for always being here and giving your wisdom and observation. It is greatly appreciated. If you want to read more by Joe Price, check out his Facebook page. He quite often will post about his motorcycle travels around the San Francisco Bay Area, and they are awesome, and they are like paintings and words. Thank you so much, Joe. I'm going to say ciao to the audience. And thank you for watching this week. Even if you're not doing music, if you're not doing vocals, but you're a painter, you write, maybe you just speak to people, think about all the advice you got today and think about how you might be able to apply it to take what you do to the next level. All right. Catch you next week. Ciao. If you'd like to find out more about my work, you can find me, Caleb Duart, on Facebook. Also, I have 3 band projects. They are available on Bandcamp for listening and donations. Also available on YouTube for watching music videos, interviews, etc. And that is Caleb Official, Audio Terrorist, and Queer Blue, Cuirbleu. Stay safe out there. See you next week.